Today on The Intelligent Asset, the experience of adopting electric vehicles and electrification of transportation and ride sharing in French Polynesia. Welcome to The Intelligent Asset, a podcast on digitizing enterprise asset management, developing intelligent interactions, and building systems of intelligence for asset operations. For industry professionals who work in EAM facilities management across transportation, public sector, utilities, manufacturing, and large enterprises. We want to tie the global challenges we all share to the world of EAM and how we can all make change for the better, building a more sustainable collective future. And this episode is brought to you by IBM Maximo, the world's leading enterprise asset management system. I'm Sam Williams, your host for this very special episode, all the way from Papeete in French Polynesia. And I am joined by Arthur, the founder and digital transformation consultant from Hello Scoot. And Tahiti, or the island of Tahiti, is one of the most beautiful places on Earth, in my opinion. Lorana and Salut, Arthur. Introduce yourself to the audience once again.
Yarana Sam, kia ora. I'm very happy to be here again. Thanks for the invitation. So I am Arthur. I'm 35 and I arrived like 5 years ago, more or less, in Tahiti to follow my wife. I opened Hello Scoot 2 years ago, which is a mobility service in Tahiti and Moorea. And basically, we provide means of transportation through an application, both mopeds and cars, for daily trips of our visitors and inhabitants of French Polynesia.
Great, and I guess we've talked before in terms of how the business came about and what you do, but maybe talk a little bit for the audience that or listeners that haven't heard about you before, a little bit about what are some of the guiding principles in terms of how the business came about?
Yeah, so basically, when you are in French Polynesia, when you live here, the only means of transportation is car. So you own a car and you just go everywhere with your car. The bus stations are very new, so we have bus stops since last year, 2 years ago, and the bus lines are not very mature, not very trustful in terms of hours, calendars. So there is a really low penetration for this means of transportation. And basically, driving a bike is insanely dangerous. Like you can die in any moment because more or less 90% of the public area is dedicated to cars, and the road of circulation are really, really fast. Even though we have only one road at 90 kilometers per hour. All the roads are limited to 60 or 50, but in reality, people go more or less to 70 to 80 kilometers. So we have huge death toll for a very little country. So here the transportation of French Polynesia is all around cars. So I figure out how to copy paste something that exists already somewhere else, bigger cities like Paris or Berlin, which are the mopeds rental through an app. Because I found it really, really convenient when I was living there to be able to just like pick up a vehicle and leave it at my endpoints and just paying for the trip. Much more convenient than the standard like rental company, much more affordable and with electric vehicles. And so this point is important because in Tahiti, we have an energy which is more or less 70% made of petrol, so hydrocarbons. So we need to find solutions to make green transportation, even though if it's already electric. We need to provide like green electricity to be able to have green electric cars and mopeds. So we we added solar panel on the roof of our agency to be able to charge our electric mopeds almost fully with our own solar energy, which makes the overall experience. So you book the moped on your app, and you have this electric moped that is charged with solar energy. And then we figure out that the distance are not quite that the one you can make in the big cities, because even though there is a lot of people, you don't do like 20, 30 or 40 kilometers in one day. You just go in some place to some place. But here in Tahiti, some people do 50, 100 kilometers per day because they are traveling around the island. And so we developed a network of swapping stations in partnership with a gas company. And so you just go in these stations, and someone is just swapping your batteries for you. And so makes the autonomy of your mopeds completely unlimited. So that's just finish a bit the loop of the full experience of rental with Hello Scoot.
Excellent. And since we were last talking, how has the business progressed, and what new things and new services have you introduced? What innovations have you observed?
So in kind of new services, we have added 50 scooters in our fleet because we understood that there was like a need for local customers, especially to have more scooters available, especially in the city center. So we doubled the fleet of scooters, which was quite a high point for us in the last semester. Then we have developed a partnership with Avis, which is the famous rental car companies. They have like a franchisee in French Polynesia for Tahiti and Moorea, and they were seeking for a solution to develop car sharing. But they were struggling since a couple of years because they didn't have the proper resources, they didn't have the proper supplier. They did some tests, but it was really like exhausting, and without the real skills internally to go through the different obstacles they have been seeing. So we've naturally been being in touch to discuss how we could collaborate, and so we launched in April 20 cars. Through the Hello Scoot app, but which are brands with Avis. So it's like really like almost a joint ventures or something like that. So we rent their car, and we provide their customer our customer experience. So it's pretty interesting. And yeah.
So, in other words, someone can access an Avis vehicle through the Hello Scoot app.
Yes, exactly. You register for both cars and mopeds in the app, and then you can see both vehicles on the app, and you can book with the one you want.
Okay, and it's open to tourists as much as it's open to the general public as well as tourists.
It's open for everyone, locals, tourists, everyone. We just have slightly different rules of registration regarding the insurance, for example. So the age is a criteria, but yeah, it's open to everyone. It's working really well, both with tourists and locals.
Okay, and is there any initiative on the Avis side that it's around sustainable electric or EVs, or is it just regular petrol vehicles?
So that's exactly the point. We had struggled at the beginning to really like formalize this partnership because of the fact that there is no electric vehicle in the Avis fleet today. So this is explained by two things. The first one is in French Polynesia there is no fiscal advantage or tax advantage to buy an electric car. So you basically have a more expensive car and the kind of same service. So people didn't like move toward this solution yet. And the other point is there is no public charging point. So as I am speaking now, there is like maybe a dozen that are pretty like private or not well known, but there is some that is starting to be in place. because the regulation didn't authorize to actually sell electricity to charge electric cars, something like regulation like problem. But so Avis didn't have an electric car. For us, like being able to provide a solution that is like really sustainable is super important. So we had a struggle to start the project with gas cars because it was against a bit the value we have been defending with Hello Scoot. But after some discussions, I figure out that we need a starting point to make this transition. I mean, if they know how to work with gas cars, and they need the technology, and we can work together, there will be a point where we're going to switch to these new electric cars. Once the network of charging station will be in place, once the suppliers will be able to give Avis good prices and so on. So we started with gas cars, also because of the logistic is much easier to handle than electric cars. And we have 24 cars, and now we are thinking of making a proof of concept on 2 electric cars to be able to build the next step, which is like making all the fleet of cars going electric.
Yeah, I guess it's quite interesting in terms of the experience of renting a vehicle in Bora Bora, where electric is an option, and it's obviously a different franchisee of the Avis brand. Uh, and I guess local regulation or local ownership makes a difference in terms of, and obviously the infrastructure makes a difference to the adoption of EVs.
Yeah, there's the lobby of the car suppliers in French Polynesia is really strong because car dealership combined with insurance companies, combined with the taxes they get, the state gates when all the merchandise are imported in the country, plus the road that they make, plus etc. etc. There is a huge economic side of French Polynesia which is dedicated to car. So it makes it difficult to like switch this area to something else. And the electric cars are more expensive, are a different technology, and the supply can be difficult when it comes from different places around the world. Because here, when you take a car, you can have a car coming from America, from India, from China, from almost every factory in the world. Because of the special place we are, there is no like better point than one another to get the product here. So you can have product from everywhere, so it makes like the maintenance very difficult. So I guess they have also a lack of skill to be maintaining like brand new electric cars that are made from all over the world with different kind of technology, wires and stuff. So there was no like this revolution that we have seen somewhere else. There is no also like public announcement for helps for low taxes and stuff like that. So there is a lowest tax to import electric vehicles. So I'm telling a lie. There is no tax when you import an electric vehicle, but it still doesn't make the electric vehicle less expensive than a gas car. So combine the two solution. You have an electric car that you cannot charge except at home. So if you buy one, you set a charger at home and you pay the electricity. And if you go fully into the approach, you put like solar panels and you have something really, really cool. But when you live in an apartment and when it's the bank that is giving you the loan to buy the car, and then you need to be parked in your work garage without charging station, it's almost impossible to to move towards electric. So as there is no demands for the private ownership on electric cars, there is no really offer on the market. Even if today it's a bit moving, but there is still some pieces inside the puzzle that needs to be clarified. As I was saying previously, there is a regulation that doesn't really authorize people to sell electricity. So there is a law of country that gives the power to one company to sell electricity at the name of the state of the country. And if you want to privately like sell electricity, normally you're out of the law. So you shouldn't be able to do it. So we need to find like stuff to like, I don't know, rent a parking by the hour or and
Hmm.
it's kind of a bit like complicated, and this hasn't been really approached by the government or anyone in the private sector because there is no really demands on like charging electric cars. So as there is no demands, there is no like really like talk about it, and it's a bit stagnant. But I'm pretty sure that the car sharing, the electric car sharing, is a huge piece of the development of this new technology.
Right. Maybe switching tacks slightly. Um, what have you been able to discern through the digital app that's different about the behaviors of people hiring petrol vehicles versus the model that you have with the scooters? Now, obviously, your need and use for scooters is a bit different to your need and use for a four-wheel vehicle that can carry more than one passenger that's enclosed. But I'm curious what you've learned as a result of this partnership with Avis, and what's the data starting to tell you?
So the main point for Avis was to be able to provide a solution of rental by the hour. It was too complicated for their agent to handle documentation, papers, and stuff for 1 hour. It wasn't like worth it. So that's why they approached us and we made this partnership so they will be able to rent by the hour. And um, after 3 months now, we see that 70% of our rental are 1 hour or less. So
Okay.
we actually like provide this solution that the people needed. So we are in between the taxi, when you need to go back to the airport at 4 in the morning and you don't really know, or you're not really sure that you're gonna call this guy that gives you his phone number. So it's not really like reliable. So you prefer to like rent a car, put the luggage in the truck, and then go at the airport and leave the car there. You're gonna pay less than a taxi. It's gonna be more comfortable. You're gonna make a stop for a coffee or fee on the way. Much more convenient, as well as the locals. The locals, we have, for example, associations that need to pick up like people from the boat to go to their offices because they were working in Moria and now they are in Tahiti, and so they have no means of transportation, so they pick up people. We have working people that need to go to meetings, and instead of taking their cars and sharing, because so they just like take a Navis car. So it's super interesting to see that most of the journey are really less than an hour and really a few kilometers, because we include gas in the price of the rental, for the driver not to have to refill before another rental, and
Yep.
and it actually makes a lot of sense because the gas is not so much on the price of the rental because people don't drive far. They don't go around the island. They do like 10, 12 kilometers in a ride, and that's it. So it's really
Right.
super interesting.
And from Avis's point of view, uh, I imagine that one of the objections or resistance would be that it might cannibalize their regular business, or in other words, have they seen an increase, and kind of what were some of the um, objections or perceived problems that actually didn't turn out to be difficulty, but were actually an opportunity for Avis?
I think the first point is, as you say, not do not see this new service as a competitor to their actual offers, but more something to complete the experience for their customer. This is really what we see. We see it with the operational people, that will clean the car, move the car around. They don't, they prefer to rent their car than rent the Hello cars. So it was a bit like counter natural at first, but when we explained that it's a different need, so a different offer, now they start to understand. So that was exactly the first point. They were afraid that the turnover is going to be lacking their best cars inside their fleet, and so it's going to generate more trouble for them because they're not going to have enough cars, and these cars not going to fit exactly with what their customer needs. So, what's the first thing? The second thing is um, the skills that they need internally. It's like we we have this brand new software linked to the cars that allow us to interact with the cars, and the people on the field get an app dedicated for fleet management when they can interact with the car as well. And this is brand new, so most of people didn't have email address first. So
Right.
we had to create them email addresses for them to log in onto the app and then be able to do their job on the cars. But it's like really a cultural shock that they don't handle keys, they just handle smartphones. So
Yep.
at first, so the it is working like the keys are in the glove box. So you just lock and lock the car, and you just don't care about the keys. But it's like at the beginning, they open all the cars, remove the keys, and keep the keys with them because they were afraid to have the cars locked and the keys inside. So it was a completely different approach of making of doing their jobs. It was actually like completely different. Like the guy handling the fleets were like, okay, no, I want to keep the keys because the keys is what I give to the customer. It's like the most important thing of the vehicle. And so
Mhm.
there was completely a switch saying, no, okay, just leave the key, just have your phone and that's it. You don't need to handle anything. Everything is inside the car. You have the double at the office and you don't take care of the keys anymore. And it was like quite complicated at first to make them understand that this was a new approach of handling their cars. And maybe the last thing is the training. So as people didn't work with email address, they didn't work with app, we had to really like spend time with them in order to like get them to know the basic about like collaborating on digital workspace. So most of them have phones. They already like do go on Facebook and send emails and texts and so on. So it's not really an issue. So they get ambassadors, which is really cool. They get ambassadors in every agency that are really responsible for it and are a bit like a digital native or more like comfortable with new technologies. So they are really the 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 main point of contact for the rest of the team. But some people on the team are really like were at the beginning struggling with this new approach of "No, I don't need the keys. I just go there. I have my app. I have a connection, and I just open the car and do my thing." It was really, really for me. It was really disturbing because we don't have keys for scooters. The keys of the cars for me is like completely normal, not to handle it, and for them it was like a shock that we didn't handle the keys. It was quite funny.
Yeah, I guess a couple of things there. Digital literacy being one, but also um, that that modality that we're used to in terms of the use of keys, or um, I suppose in some ways, from a cultural standpoint, keys are a symbol of ownership, control, yeah, and how those cultural symbols have to kind of shift as part of becoming more digitally literate. Is kind of an interesting dimension to that you know, probably was never considered or never thought about as you were going down this journey.
Yeah, it's really cool, as well as knowing exactly who is doing what. You know, so as we know who is operating on what car at every moment, it's like they don't have to take care of who is going where and when is coming back, and it's kind of this approach
Mm,
of the planning is a bit different as well, because you just have to check the tool and say, okay, he's there, he's moving this car, this one is there, this car needs something, so I just create a ticket affected to there. It's like um, communication, which is also a bit like switching inside this team that is handling these cars, which is a bit different. We track what we do. We know who has done what. We have the events. We have an organization that is, to my opinion, like really different to what they were doing before. Like people reports and on different like uh, apps on computers, with people going back in the office with the paper sign and stuff. So yeah, it's really cool. It's like digital transformation, but really applied with mobility service. So it's really cool.
yeah, and I guess it kind of highlights the nature of digital business, which is about people and process as much as it is about the technology. That you can apply the technology, but without the people embracing it from a cultural standpoint, and without change in processes, it's not going to have the impact that you're setting out to have. So I guess that's probably a perfect point to let you go and get back to your day. So once again, it's been a fascinating conversation about sort of that different perspective that your experience, both as a Parisian um, in French Polynesia, but also from the point of view of how different cultures and institutions are kind of adapting to digital change.
Thank you very much.
Cheers and Marana. So, if you're interested in learning more about Hello Scoot and what they're doing in terms of shared vehicle access, check out their website at helloscoot.com. And for those of you who are interested in uh, the whole journey around the adoption of electric vehicles and getting to net zero carbon emissions, please follow the Intelligent Assets wherever you get your podcasts from. Also available on YouTube.